Hi everybody. This project that I'm going to have you doing is a demonstration on how to work with metal, aluminum actually, to be more specific. You're going to do a project where you're going to be cutting a piece of metal. You're going to be shaping it, squaring it up, making sure that all the corners are 90 degree, making sure there's no rough edges on it, and then we're going to lay it out to drill 4 specific holes. You're going to be a 1/4 inch bolt, you're going to put in a 5/16 bolt, you're going to put in a 3/8 bolt, you're going to put in a 1/2 inch bolt. So the project, when it's done, will look like this. Just looks like an ordinary aluminum block, which it is. It's approximately a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 thick, with 4 holes, which you will be drilling, tapping, and putting threads in. It comes from a piece of flat stock, which you'll have to cut, which is right here. You'll be cutting it, shaping it, and making it look like this in the end. Now, we'll take a walk out here to the shop, and I'm going to show you the tools of the trade, the tools in which you will need. Number 1 is going to be this reference table by Starrett, who happens to be like one of the leading manufacturers in precision equipment, measuring equipment, drills, taps, dies. And you'll notice that there are a couple of these dimensions, a couple of these that are highlighted. These are the sizes that you will be using, that you will be making your holes to. Okay, there's your 1/4 20. There's your 3/8 16, 5/16 18, and 1/2 inch 13. This chart gives you not only the bolt size in the first column, or the tap size, the threads per inch, and also the drill size which you will need. This right here is our SAE tap and die set. Now you have to be careful because there's SAE and there's metric. So the question is, how do you know? Well, for one, they have the MC/NF NPT, and all the taps and dies will be fractional. If this were a metric set, they would be in millimeters. We're going to need some basic hand tools. A pair of pliers is good to have. A hammer. This other device right beside it is called a file card. You'll see later in the video how we use a file card to clean the file, because when we're filing aluminum, the file will get all full of debris. Okay? Probably should have put the file over there with the file card so that you know that they kind of go hand in hand. But that is your flat file, and immediately to your left will be the file card for cleaning it. If you don't have a file card, you can use a wire brush. Wire brush works pretty good. This is a center punch and chisel set. You will be needing the center punch, which is on the far left, this little one. Okay. Our hammer. We're going to need combination square. That's going to be so that you can check and verify that you have good square corners. It also works as a good straight edge. Just overall handy tool. We have a 119 piece drill set. Covers every drill you should need for this job. And we're not going to make you drill them by hand. There's an actual battery powered drill to help you out. We also have oil. We're going to need oil for lubricating the threads while we're cutting our threads into the aluminum. I keep a can of brake clean handy in case I need to clean the oil off when I'm all done. And of course we have our 4 bolts that we're going to use for this project. Okay, so we're going to start this video by going over the basic things we're going to need for this project. Obviously, this is our 4-inch aluminum that we'll be cutting down into 2-inch strips. Some of the tools that you will need for this job will be set of drill bits, drill motor, battery. You will need the 40-piece tap and die set, SAE, not metric. So you're going to have fractional sizes. That's how you know that that'll be an SAE tap and die set. Okay, we want to keep some oil on hand for lubrication of the tap while we're cutting the threads. These are our 4 test piece or test bolts that we'll be using when we're all done to ensure that we've done the holes correctly. The first one is a 1/4-20. That means it's a 1/4 inch diameter and there's 20 threads per inch. The second one is a 5/16 18. It is 5/16 diameter, 18 threads per inch. The third one is a 3/8 16. 3/8 diameter, 16 threads per inch. And last but not least is going to be our 1/2 inch 13. So 1/2 inch diameter, 13 threads per inch. And if there's any question about what you're going to be doing, the whole thing is right here on this chart. They'll be highlighted in yellow, the different bolts that you'll be drilling for. Okay, continuing on. Within our tap and die set is a thread pitch gauge. Very handy for determining that we have the correct bolts and whatnot for what we're doing. You will need a file for squaring up the edges of your block as shown in the previous video, because I don't want any sharp edges on there when we're all done. You'll need a hacksaw to cut the piece of material, and this framing square we'll be using to ensure that you have nice square corners on the material which you're working. Obviously we'll need a tape measure. The framing square will work. Another thing it's not a bad idea to have, this is known as a file card. When you're filing aluminum, what's going to happen is your file, the teeth on here are going to plug up with the aluminum because it's a real soft metal. So we'll want to keep a file card on hand or a wire brush, and occasionally you'll have to clean those threads. That is the basic tools that you will need to get rolling here. Okay, step one, we're going to put our piece of aluminum in the vise. You don't want too much of it sticking out beyond the edge of the vise, because as you cut, you'll see that it'll vibrate and it'll make a lot of noise. It gets real annoying and it's just harder to control. So we put our vise or our piece of aluminum in the vise. We can either use a tape measure or we can use our combination square, and we're going to mark it at 2 inches. Then we're going to draw a nice square line. That's going to be our cut line. I don't know how well that's going to show up on the camera, but this is going to be our cut line. We're going to cut this piece off, then we're going to turn around and we're going to mark 2 inches from the end. And I'll make it easier. Okay, 2 inches from the end. And we're going to use the straight edge here of the combination square. What this is going to do is give us 2 perfectly 2 inch by 2 inch blocks when we're all done. I like to tell everybody the first one is for practice and the second one is for perfection. As you can see, whoever cut this the last time didn't do such a good job at squaring things up. Okay, now that we have our initial layout here, we're going to take our hacksaw and cut just to the, you don't want to take the line off. You want to leave the line on if you can. And we're going to start to cut. Take your hacksaw and do a couple back drags. That's going to do is put a little carf in there, and that's going to help keep your blade in it. And then we start cutting. Notice my finger is on the side of this hacksaw and my other hand is on the far end of the blade, or on the other end of the blade. That's going to help for stability. When you cut, if you cut in this angle, you're not going to be very accurate at following your line. If you lay the saw down like this and go at a nice pace, nice even pace, you'll find that you can control the saw and the cut much better. And in the end, you'll have a better result. Now this takes practice for some of you. This is why we're making 2 of them. But you just have to take your time, not too much pressure on the saw. Occasionally check your line. Then you'll cut that off. And then I'm going to cut this off too to square it up where somebody else did a bad job. And then after I cut that, I'm going to do the same process, but I'm going to cut this line. And this line I'm going to cut right down the middle. That will enable us to have even sized pieces. Okay, so my first piece I've cut down to basically a 2" by 4". And as you recall, we put this line in the middle. Now I'm going to turn around, I'm going to cut this in half. So in the end, I'm going to wind up with 2 pieces, 2" by 2". So again, a couple back drags with the saw. This time we're going to be centered on the line. And we're going to cut this just the same, taking our time. Keeping our saw laid back on an angle so that we can control it better. Remember, not like this. If you cut like this, it will be very inaccurate. You'll wind up with a cut that'll come down to the side. It'll either go right or go left. So keep her laid on her side. Nice, even, full strokes. And that's how we'll get that cut into 2 pieces. Okay, so the next part of this involves basically just smoothing these rough edges off. After we're all done with the hacksawing, we're gonna have a rough finish there. We don't want that. So we're gonna take our flat file and we're just gonna keep going across this to make it a nice smooth surface. And we're gonna do this on any of the sides that we cut. If we have a side which was not, obviously like this one here where it was extruded, we're not worried about that. But anywhere that we cut, we're going to take the flat file and we're going to make this real nice and smooth. You're just going to keep running over it like this. And if you got a good cut, you won't have to spend a lot of time doing this. It'll square up right away. As you can see how that's all getting to be a uniform texture and color and finish. And that's what you're looking for. I don't want to see no divots or any nick marks in it or anything like that. So we do that, then we have to round off our edges because we don't want anything sharp that might cut us. Okay, same goes for this one. No sharp edges. Okay, so we want to do that to all 4 corners. Okay, nice, no nicks in it, nothing terrible. Then the other thing we want to do is check it and make sure that it's square. So we're going to use our combination square and we're going to hold this up just like so. And if you hold it up to the light or anywhere where there's a reflective source behind, you'll be able to see that this is not exactly square. You can see that little area right in here. So I'm going to have to file that more until that's square. However, this little divot down here may be interfering with us. So let's remove that real quick. We may actually have a square corner. Let's check it again. Yeah, it looks a lot better now. So we want to take our file, Clean these all up, no sharp edges, nice finish, and we're gonna make 2 of these, perfectly square. Okay, so I've been filing for a while here on this one, and it's just not cleaning up. It just seems like no matter what, I got rough surfaces there. And here's why. Here's all your aluminum. You can feel that on your file. When your file gets like that, you can either use a wire brush or a file card, and you just take all that rough edge off of there. Okay. Now when you go back in and you start filing, you're going to get a better result. You can immediately see it starting to shine up because you're getting all that rough stuff out of there and you're getting a smoother finish. Okay, there might be a lot of it, so you might have to keep doing this, but this will get you to a good finish a lot faster. And again, we'll round these corners so that we don't have any sharp edges. And in the end, we should be left with something that looks a lot like this. Hopefully square. Not exactly square. Well, we got a bump there. Pretty square. Not so square. Always use this, the factory edge as your reference. As you can see, I got a little bit of work to do there. That one's pretty good. So we're going to keep working on that, and we're going to do this to the first one as well as the second one, because you're going to want to present to me the best of your 2. So there you go. Okay, so now I have what should be the perfect square. All right. No matter where I go on here, I should get a nice square edge. Okay. My next move is we're going to prepare this block to put holes in it. So we're going to need our pen. We're going to need our combination square. We're going to put our block in the vise. And we're going to draw an X on it. We're going to lay out our combination square from corner to corner. And we're just going to draw an X. What this is going to do is it's going to establish the locations for the 4 holes, which you saw in the first video, where the bolts are going to go. We want to come from that center line out 5/8 of an inch. So as you can see on this ruler, here's 1 inch or 1/8, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to put a line there. That's where our bolt's going to go. Same thing, 5/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, at those locations, we're going to take a center punch and we're going to put a little divot right there, and that's going to help us when we start to drill. Okay, now I know in the beginning I told you about all the tools you were going to need, and of course I didn't think it all the way through. I had forgotten, as I just mentioned the previous minute or so, about the center punch. Center punch is designed to put a divot into the material, which will help you when you go to drill the hole. It'll prevent the drill bit from walking off when you first start drilling. Now, you need to have this on a good solid surface before you do your center punching. So we're going to put it right on the back side of the vise here, right on the anvil section. And we're going to take this point and we're going to put it right smack in the middle of those crosshairs. Okay, we're just gonna take our hammer and one good hit. We're gonna do that to all 4 of these intersecting points. You can hit it once, you can hit it twice, but just make sure you hit it in the same spot. Those will enable us to get our drill started correctly. Just like that. Okay? Next move, we'll be drilling holes. Now, if you look at this chart, I'm going to take the camera off my head so I can get a better view of it, and so that you can get a better view of it. You will see we're going to start out with our 1/4 bolt hole. Now, if you look across here, that recommends a number 7 drill bit. Okay, up top is the drill size. We're going to use a number 7 drill bit. So we're going to come up here and we're going to take our number 7 drill. We're going to put that in the drill. And what I'm going to do, being this is the smallest drill, or the smallest of the holes, I'm going to drill all 4 holes with this drill bit first. So let me put my headband back on. Make sure that I'm viewing correctly. Okay. Take my drill, put my freshly charged battery in it, put my drill in. Now this is a keyless chuck, so you can tighten the drill bit by hand. And this is aluminum. So we're not gonna, aluminum tends to plug up drill bits real quick if you drill very fast. So we're just gonna take and drill nice and slow right on our center punch, and we're gonna start with all 4 of these. We're gonna drill them to a number 7 drill. Keeping the drill nice and straight. We don't want our hole going crooked. Okay, we're gonna drill all 4 holes like that. All right, got my 4 holes drilled with a number 7. That's the smallest drill bit we're gonna need. If we look at the other ones, we're gonna need a letter F, we're gonna need a 5/16 drill bit, and we're gonna need a 27/64. So here's my letter F. Next we need our 5/16, which will be right here. And the last one will be a 27/64, which happens to be right here. Now, this is our first hole, okay? Right here at about the 10 o'clock position. That's gonna be hole number 1. The next one, we're gonna drill to our letter F drill. Okay, again, make sure that your block is level in the vise, because if we have it off like that and we drill straight, we're going to have a crooked hole. So we want to make sure that our block is level there, or as level as possible. The more time you put into it, the better result you'll get. So this one we're going to drill a number 7 drill bit. Just like that. The next hole is going to be for the 3/8, and we're going to use a 5/16 drill bit. So this is our first one, second one, third one. Now, a little advice: the aluminum tends to bite the drill bit, so be ready when it hits the metal or the aluminum. It's going to want to cut right through it. So apply light pressure, Just eased on through it. And last but not least, be our biggest drill, and the toughest one probably to drill will be the 27/64. Get ready for this one. It will bite. Don't push down hard. Okay, so there's our 4 hole sizes, just like that. We're all drilled, and we're ready to do our to put the threads in there so that we can start our bolt. Now, over here at our tap and die set, our first one was going to be a 1/4 20. So, on these taps, this is by the way a tap, these are dies. You want to find the one that says 1/4 20. Stamped on the side. 1/4 20. We're going to take this, we're going to take our tap handle, which can sometimes be interesting and challenging to get out of there. So I'll use the screwdriver. We're going to put our tap in so that the square drive is engaged, and we're going to put a little bit of oil on these holes before we tap them. So a little shot of oil in the hole, not on your buddy, and we're going to carefully cut the threads in the hole. Now, proper procedure once you start the tap in the hole is to run a 1/2 turn and then back it out 1/4 and run another 1/2 turn. Back it out 1/4, run another 1/2 turn. Back it out 1/4. So we're going to go through here and we're going to thread these holes, again using oil and the proper technique. By backing the tap out, what we're doing is we're actually clearing the threads up. The 1/2, back up, a 1/2, back up. You get the idea. Okay, the tap is through the other side. I'm just going to run it through a few extra times, a few extra threads, just to make sure that the hole's nice and clean. Be careful when you're pulling this out that it doesn't walk off to the side, because it'll chew the threads up if it does. Okay, now you should have a perfect 1/4 20 hole there, and this bolt should thread right down in with ease. Look at that, by hand, piece of cake. That's what I'll be looking for when this is all done. You look at it from the side, it's straight up and down, it's not on an angle, and it threads in easily. So we do that for the 1/4 20. Then we're going to move over to the 5/16 18. So we're done with this tap. We need to find our 5/16 18. This one looks like it. What do you know? 5/16 18. You'd think I've done this a little bit. All right. Put that in. A little bit of oil on there. I'll show you one more time, and then you'll have to go at it alone on the 3/8 and the 1/2 inch holes. Again, do your best to make sure that it's nice and level when you start. Once you know it's pulling in now, same thing. Loosen it 1/4, go a 1/2. Loosen it 1/4, go a 1/2. One of the easiest ways to break a tap is to side load it. With the aluminum, it's not as much of a problem, but when you get into some harder steel, you'll find, you'll find that it's very easy if you're gonna break a tap or an easy out or anything, you're gonna do it because you side loaded the tap. Okay. Now, here's our 5/16, and right down in the hole by hand. Piece of cake. All right, I'll leave you guys to your own to do the other two, and then we'll talk about the final steps. Okay, so in the end, here's what we're left with. We have this nice block, and it is square based on the machined edge reference, very close to it. All right, I don't want to see anything that's like that, or you know, just all hacked up. We're looking for a good square block, 2 inches by 2 inches, and I can easily take a 1/4-20 bolt, thread it right down in that hole. I can easily take a 5/16 18 bolt, thread it down that hole. Same goes for the 3/8 16. Take that one, that goes in that one, nice and easy. And if I can figure out where I put my 1/2-inch bolt, all right, 1/2-inch 13 bolt, I can take this one and run it right in here by hand, nice and easy, no problems. I'll tell you, by using oil on the tap, the threads are much cleaner. They're not all galled up, and they're gonna give you a better result threading your bolt on in. So I'm gonna know if you use the proper, the proper techniques, with tap and die, or with the tap, making sure that it's oiled, making sure that all these are nice, at a right angle to the block. Okay, so that's your end result. This is what I'm looking for. And obviously, folks, we're gonna clean up our area too. So when you're all done, and your bolts fit well, and your tools are all cleaned up, that's when you'll come to get me for the grade. Okay, so in the end, when you come to me at the end of the project for your final grade, we're gonna have the benches all clean. We're gonna have our taps cleaned up and oiled. We're gonna take this file. We're not gonna leave all those aluminum boogers in there. We're gonna take our file card or a wire brush, and we're gonna have our file all cleaned up. Basically everything all cleaned up and ready to go for your grade. That's it.